Just a few words about the Opus 18 number 3 string quartet, which, although it's the third in the series of 6 early string quartets, actually this is the one that Beethoven wrote first of all. Well, Beethoven had quite a hard act to follow from when you think of the Haydn and Mozart quartets that preceded his Opus 18 series of quartets. He was in his late 20s. This was just the very last few years of the 18th century. Beethoven had already written quite a few other chamber works, like all the string trios, some violin and cello sonatas, a septet, I think. And it was only at this point that he felt ready to tackle the medium of the string quartet. And it begins with a very sunny and warm and yet slightly mysterious solo violin ascending seventh. And the whole mood of that first movement makes you feel that you are supported by air. It somehow floats through. It starts as if it were a slow movement, but actually it is quite swift and very, very spare in its writing. So there isn't a sense of the effort of making a string quartet in the way that you would hear his later quartets, so dense. This has got quite the opposite, absolutely transparent music with beautiful spacing between the parts and also within the phrases themselves. The suspension of a seventh, an interval of a seventh, played by the solo, the first violin alone at the very beginning, which you can hear actually. This is actually the Budapest String Quartet, a 1951 recording, and you can hear that very opening it is reaching up into some infinite that can't be touched. So. The string quartet was something that he only wanted to tackle, I think, at this stage. He only felt ready at this stage, following on from Haydn, who actually was for a while his counterpoint teacher, and Mozart, who had set the standard of quartet writing. But what is the difference between Beethoven and Mozart or Haydn is that although their music was very beautiful, he was looking for something perhaps beyond beauty. Very calm first movement to begin with anyway, which uses a very, very stretched interval. It is not quite the octave. So the seventh is somehow this incomplete, this feeling of incomplete, looking for, searching. It's such a searching interval. There's nothing ostentatious about this piece at all, and yet, of course, he felt there was a great pressure to please his patrons, the audiences, and Mozart, Haydn. Well, the thing with Beethoven is that he could pick up a tune almost from the street and craft it into something extremely sophisticated and beautiful, and yet the elements can be extremely simple. I mean, Beethoven was really the composer who brought classicism into romanticism. Of course, we know that he searching for something more, the grandeur of the eternal. So there was something so much more ambitious in the spirituality of Beethoven's writing. He encapsulated the spirit of his age, where the age of Enlightenment. Writers, philosophers, artists, poets were searching for something beyond and outside humanity. And I suppose having fallen away somehow from God in some way, they were looking for the God in us. Yeah, within the tranquility of this work, it has a lot of it. The first movement, the second movement have got a huge amount of tranquility and expanse and peacefulness, and yet, of course, they are infused with energy and with maybe even things like doubt and searching. It's this longing and this searching that was so true to its time, not just within music, but all the arts and philosophy and science as well. So the world was looking for answers that had a higher form of humanity. Using this amazing medium of the string quartet to such sophistication and depth. But he brought his own new search and for a more transcendent spirituality. You know. But this particular quartet is very classical. It still has the hallmark of classical writing and structure, except that his journeys into keys, his journeys into texture, and also the kind of material he uses, which is perhaps more fragmentary and elusive than his predecessors. The very opening of this piece starts with a solo violin just playing an ascending seventh, and that which is itself suspended across the bar. So it's a very peaceful, feels like the start of a slow movement. And I think that sets up the sense of searching and longing, and something where one is looking up. The search, it is an ascending seventh, and somehow that it's always looking upwards. One can very easily fall off the tightrope in that last movement. It ends beautifully, because it just evaporates into the ether. But it has sort of resolved itself by the time it gets to the end, just evaporates into nothing. It's very spacious music. So not spacious music, the use of not just silence, but openness. Haydn was very clever with his use of silence, and there was a lot of trickery, but what Beethoven does is somehow silence becomes a material in itself, so that it inflates the music like the air inside a balloon, and it holds the tension. An interval like a major, an interval like the seventh that we hear at the beginning and all through the first movement, is itself something with such a great deal of span. It seems very effortless as a movement as well. The whole piece is something very effortless, and yet trying. It is trying. It is looking for. It's a searching music. The drama in this music is without sharp edge. There is angularity in the writing, but it is not abrasive in any way. So somehow one is taken willingly into the exploration of, one willingly goes with this music, because it invites us. We want to share in the search, that this music is making a journey. There's a sense of longing in this music, certainly. So the last movement is a very brilliant and humorous, fun music, really. It almost reminds one of an Italian folk song or something. In fact, there is the Mexican hat dance, if you want to find out what that is awfully similar in its figuration. A lot of playfulness, lot of difficulty for the players as well, timing and a lot of conversation, passing around very quickly from one player to the other. Third movement is not really a minuet, because it's a bit too fast to be a minuet. It's oh, hello dog. Yeah, doesn't matter if she joins me, does it?